The new look this year is very trim. The new look is a special collection of newly sized Continental Mark VI automobiles with the mark of the designers. For 1980, the sleek Bill Blass yachting motif. The new chromatic look that's positively Pucci. Dramatic, unmistakable Givenchy. And brilliant new Cartier. The contemporary Continental Mark VI Designers Series, the trim new look for 1980.
This Bud's for the United States Budweiser bobsled team.
This Bud's for you. For all you do, the king of beers is coming through.
Yeah, Budweiser's proud to sponsor the AAU bobsled team this winter. Here's to you guys from the king of beers.
For all you do.
This Bud's for you.
Take care of your car at Kmart. Our automotive service centers care.
Your Kmart Automotive Center can be your center for Christmas gifts. Anyone on your list would be pleased with this top-quality 21-piece socket wrench set. 1/4 and 3/8 drive, backed by a full unconditional duration warranty. A great gift for $11.88 at Kmart Automotive Centers across the U.S., where quality car products are Kmart priced.
CBS Sports is the place to be for exciting postseason college football action. Kicking off next Saturday with the Sun Bowl, pitting the Washington Huskies against the Longhorns of Texas. Followed on Christmas Day by the Blue-Gray All-Star Game. Then come with us to Georgia for the Peach Bowl with the Clemson Tigers battling the Bears of Baylor. And on New Year's Day, it's the prestigious Cotton Bowl with the high-ranking Houston Cougars going against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Then it's All-Star action with the East-West Shrine Game, followed by the Senior Bowl. You'll say you saw it on CBS Sports.
This is a CBS News special report. Iran, Day 43. From New York, here is Reed Collins.
Good afternoon. Iran's Foreign Minister Ghotbzadeh has apparently ruled out freedom for the American hostages before Christmas. In one of several conflicting interviews, he said they must remain until an international grand jury's been convened. Correspondent Hal Walker has details in Tehran.
The investigation into alleged American crimes against Iran over the past 25 years will begin sometime in the first week of January, according to Iran's foreign minister. In an interview, Foreign Minister Sadat Ghotbzadeh said an international grand jury would be impaneled and that some of the 50 American hostages still held inside the American embassy could be called to testify.
The question of trial is not up yet, and we are not talking about the trial. We are talking about the investigation of the grand jury. Some of the hostages certainly will be the witness. As a witness, they can go there, but not as the accused.
Hal Walker, CBS News, Tehran.
Minister Ghotbzadeh also said today the Americans will be allowed Christmas trees and religious services over the coming holidays. President Carter returned to the Capitol from Camp David today. Lem Tucker reports.
Mr. Carter told reporters that he still hoped that the hostages would be freed by Christmas, and the president seemed to find the general tone of Foreign Minister Ghotbzadeh's comments more moderate than in the past.
Well, I think he said that the charge going to Panama was a step in the right direction. I hope that the Iranian government officials are also beginning to see that what they are doing is counterproductive not only for the hostages and for our own bilateral relationships now and in the future, but also it's not good for Iran and that country's relationship with all the other people on Earth. And we're not displeased with the interview.
But in the final analysis, reminded the president, it is the actions of Iran which will speak louder than any words. Lem Tucker, CBS News, the White House.
And the subject of the crisis, the Shah of Iran, is settling into indefinite exile on the plush Panamanian island of Contadora. This is Reed Collins, CBS News, New York.
This has been a CBS News special report.
There's our halftime score. The Eagles with a 12-10 lead in this football game. We've had 3 field goals, but I think one of the sidebars to this whole game is the NFL rushing derby, and we've been checking during halftime, Sonny. As you know, O.J. Anderson led by 3 yards over Earl Campbell, headed into the 16th week of the regular season of play. Anderson had only 39 yards today on 14 carries. Campbell already has 134. So I don't see any way that anybody's going to overhaul Earl Campbell today.
I don't think so. I talked to some Philadelphia Eagle people here right at halftime, and they were wondering if Earl Campbell will lay out the second half. I think they would like. They've seen enough of Earl Campbell. 100 and how many? 34 yards in the first half.
Well, now the other story is Philadelphia. Now they have to be aware of what's happening in Dallas. Right now it's Washington leading 17-14, but I don't need to tell you that could be tied up. If they end up 5 quarters of play tied, then Philadelphia wins the Eastern Crown.
So many possibilities, and I think it's just like Dick Vermeil said. His team can only play one way. They're just going to go out and play. I think they'll play hard in the second half. Jaworski will play in the second half. They want to win this football game. They've struggled to win 4 his first year, 5 his second, and they're struggling to win 11 right here this year.
That's true. Now, Philadelphia, of course, having to win that game if the other one ends up in a tie. The thing that's very interesting to me is that both these teams have shown really an outstanding running game, but the passing game hasn't really come around yet. We talked about Pastorini early. Jaworski's had some things going for him, but he again was throwing the ball with too much velocity.
He was. I thought Pastorini had a bad half. I felt before the game and talking with him that he really wasn't ready to play football. You have to be ready to play every week you go out there. Anytime you walk on the football field. He didn't sound like he was ready to play football. He mentioned to me, let's flip a coin for this game, and it doesn't make any difference because Pittsburgh, they could see the scoreboard. I think that had some effect on Houston's play early in the game. The fact that they knew Pittsburgh had blown out the Buffalo team. But I think Philadelphia did get their attention a little bit, and they picked up the intensity somewhat in the second quarter. And we're going to have a good second half. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. Now, Franklin showing how he can kick the ball, and Tony Frisch says, hey, give me a shot at it. And he did, as he ended the first half with a field goal.
A little bad blood between the two,
yeah,
huh?
That's right. And that dates back from, I guess, what? He said that Franklin, once he came out of the college game and couldn't kick with a tee, then it'd be a different story. Is that what it was all about?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, we have quite a game shaping up here. Stay tuned as the NFL Today continues after this word from your local station.
Tonight, Archie Bunker's place falls into some hard times.
$50,000? Oh, we are not covered.
An old friendship is strained tonight.
This is CBS.
And it's halftime at the Astrodome in Houston. 12-10 our score. This game started out with the Eagles scoring first on Ron Jaworski's bootleg from 4 yards out. The point after by Tony Franklin hit the upright, did not make it through. That's how it stood until Tony Franklin came back to boot a 22-yard field goal. And after 1 quarter of play, the Eagles led it 9-0. But then Earl Campbell from 6 yards out scored at the 3:47 mark of the second quarter. The point after made it 9-7. Then Tony Franklin came back to boot yet another field goal. This one from 41 yards out with 33 seconds left to make it 12-7, only to see the Oilers come roaring back and Tony Frisch add a 44-yarder, and that's how it is now, 12-10.
You know, leading 9-0 as Philadelphia did, Gary. I think the big play is they had the football, and Montgomery's 15th fumble of the year really gave some life to the Houston Oilers, and they took that in. They took advantage of that. They went down and got a touchdown out of that fumble.
Montgomery with 14. The 15th would be for the record, which is a dubious record to come up with. Terry Metcalf holding that.
I didn't mean to give him an extra one.
I was going to say, don't pick on him.
Okay.
But Philadelphia very much aware of the fact that Washington and Dallas have a very good prospect of ending up in a tie. Of course, that would have to go then to overtime, and this game could be over, and they could be waiting in the dressing room, still wondering what's going on.
Well, there's no question that game in Dallas is so important, and we've talked about that because right now with the score 42-6, I think that is final in Chicago over.
And those net points would mean that Washington would not make it as a wild card team. 12-10 here. Let's go now to the NFL Today in New York.
back live in New York. I'm Brent Musburger with Jane Kennedy and Irv Cross. Simply put, the Washington Redskins, to get into the playoffs, must beat the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, they lead them at the half. The count there is 17-14. Why do they have to win? Because Chicago manhandled St. Louis. 42-6 was the final score there, so they would win a point shootout if the Redskins lose to the Cowboys. The Redskins have played very well, however, in the first half. Now, over in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers may or may not have wrapped up the home field advantage simply because it is now in San Diego's corner. If the Chargers beat Denver tomorrow night, then the Chargers would have the home field edge the rest of the way, regardless of the fact that the Steelers beat out Houston for that advantage as far as the AFC Central is concerned. The Cleveland Browns have bowed out of the playoffs, and let's take you to the scoreboard and get you up to date on everything at this moment. In the third, Oakland needing a win, tied with tough Seattle at 17. It is remarkable the way the Seahawks are playing, even without the injured Steve Largent. The game there at the half, Washington 17, and the Dallas Cowboys, who have been slowly coming back, 14. And, of course, the contest you're watching, 12-10 at the half, Philadelphia over Houston and the great Earl Campbell. In the third quarter, the last assignment for the Rams in the Los Angeles Coliseum, 14-7, unless the Rams would wind up with a home field advantage for the NFC Championship, but that remains a long shot. And here it is, 42-6 as Walter Payton wraps up the NFC rushing championship. He carried 33 times for 157 yards and 3 touchdowns. O.J. Anderson injured after carrying 14 times for 39 yards. Tampa Bay, meanwhile, wins the NFC Central. In the rain and the slush, Tampa Bay 3-0 on a second-half field goal, a 19-yarder by O'Donohue. And the Cleveland Browns fall out of it as Cincinnati beats them 16-12. Mike Pruitt, though, did score again for the Browns. What a remarkable year he had after coming out from under the shadow of Greg Pruitt. Pittsburgh 28, Buffalo nothing. Franco Harris 21 carries, 100 yards. A cut, battered, and bleeding Terry Bradshaw returns and does it again for the Steelers. Baltimore wallops the Giants 31-7. The Giants started slowly, came on in midseason, then collapsed again. Landry goes 17 of 24, 176 yards and a touchdown. Atlanta beats San Francisco 31-21 and say goodbye to the great O.J. Simpson, who retires from football. And another remarkable player also retired. That would be Jim Marshall of the Minnesota Vikings. He played and started in every game that franchise played. Unfortunately, they lost the finale for him today to the New England Patriots. Another great veteran may or may not have closed out his career, depending upon what happens in the second half down in Dallas. It would be the last man to ever suit up for George Halas. Number 55, Doug Buffone, and he made a heck of a play in this game that we're going to show you here in a moment. Now, the pass from Pasarkowitz is picked off by Allen Ellis, who did a heck of a job coming in behind him. Ellis was injured earlier in the year, and he has come on strong, and Chicago could do no wrong. Watch now, the remarkable number 34, Walter Payton, one of his 3 touchdowns on the afternoon. Now, here comes the punt by Parsons, and Lee Wilson fields it deep and comes up behind an alley, and he's got daylight. And that old man, number 55, he can't catch him, can he? And wouldn't you know it, Dougie finally brings him down. But they go on in, Jim Hart takes over, and here he is going to Pat Tilley. Tilley's one of those guys without blazing speed, but he'll get open for you. And then it was Ricky Watts. After the injury to Golden Richards, the Bears said, well, where can we find a wide receiver? And they came up with this draft choice. And this young man added some spark to that attack for Chicago. And now they are just sitting on pins and needles in the Windy City, praying that America's team can come back and whomp on the Washington Redskins. Won't be easy, though.
You know, it's pretty simple and cut and dried in the Western Division of the National Football Conference because the Rams are sitting here as division champions, but they trailed in the third quarter. The New Orleans Saints by a score of 14-7. That's Wendell Tyler carrying the ball to the 2-yard line, going over 1,000 yards. He gets the ball here on the next play, goes in for a touchdown, 7-0 L.A. But Archie Manning gets his club on the move as he rolls to his right and hits Tinker Owens, number 83, in the end zone to not to score. A few plays later, Manning comes back for the draw play to Mike Strawn. He goes in the third quarter. The New Orleans Saints have a commanding 14-7 lead over the Rams.
Earl Campbell's first half stats, 17 carries, 134 yards. His total rushing for the year now, 1697. Payton, 1610. Anderson, 1605. Let's check in on the Washington-Dallas game. Redskins jumped all over the Cowboys in the early going. Joe Theismann was red hot. Here he is going to Danny Buggs, and this led to the Mark Mosley field goal. It was 3-0. Theismann, a good runner, got in from a yard out. D.D. Lewis got turned around on the play. And then this play, which certainly probed the Cowboy weakness. That injury-riddled secondary. Malone, 55-yard Redskin touchdown. And back they came. Ron Springs for one. Then, from the shotgun, the man delayed half a count, and then Preston Pearson ran right for the goal and got in there. And now it is 17-14. We send you back to the Houston Astrodome for the second half of the Philadelphia Eagles and the Houston Oilers.
12-10, that's our halftime score. They're playing the Houston Oilers song here, and as you can see, the pom-poms and the Derrick Dolls, a lot of color and excitement at halftime.
Well, they finally built the Sony big enough for me.
Sony has risen to the challenge of the Mahoney family.
Grandma, what a big Sony you have!
Sony introduces the Big Sony, the 26-inch Trinitron console, the biggest television screen in America. But the big news isn't that it's so big. The big news is that it's a Sony.
Kind of reminds me of my Sony.
Sony, the one and only.
On the night before Christmas, I did last-minute shopping, ran home, got dressed, then went party hopping. I don't think I can face the day.
But fast relief is on the way. Hey, deck the halls with plop, plop, fizz, fizz, fa la 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 la, la la la.
Don't let an upset stomach and headache turn you into a Scrooge. Take Alka-Seltzer, the sound of fast relief.
Oh, what a relief it is. Fa la 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 la, la 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 ha.
They call it the city of brotherly love, but I like to think Philadelphia is a United Way city. How about you, Brooks? What does United Way mean to you?
Learning to swim at the Y.
How about you, Kim?
It means the Girl Scouts, Dad.
I'm John Bunning of the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is my family. You might say that we're a United Way family. We've all been helped by the United Way. But as volunteers, Renee and I have seen what United Way does for so many people, both in the city and in the suburbs. It helps people in distress. It helps the whole community. It helps people of all ages, all walks of life, rich, poor, every race and every creed. Because there are people who care. United Way works here in Philadelphia. It works in your town, too. Thanks to you, it works for all of us. The United Way.
United Way.
The preceding announcement was furnished as a public service by the National Football League. There's Ron Jaworski in the first half, hit 10 of 18 for 133 yards. Longest gain being a 36-yarder. He started out a little shakily, but improved as the game wore on.
And I'm kind of interested in seeing in this second half, Gary, that, both coaches said that they were going to not make wholesale changes, but they're going to move some other people into the game in the second half. And with the game as tight as it is, I'm not sure they're going to do that. Are you?
I don't either. The only thing I wonder about is Campbell. He's won the rushing title, no question about it. He has 1,697 yards. Anderson, who led him going into the day, finished the year with 1,605, and there's nobody else close unless Montgomery would just go wild in the second half of play. Ready to go. 12-10, Philadelphia. This is Allender. And Richard Allender brings it out to the 24-yard line. So let's check and see who they're going to come out with. Louis Jamona made the stop. I'll tell you, we get a chance to ask our director, Jim Silman, to shoot the guy who takes the kicking tee off after every kickoff. He is something to watch. His name is Mojo, and he has some moves out there. Did you see that?
Yes, he does.
We'll get it later.
He swoops in on that tee. You know, the 134 yards by Earl Campbell in the first half was a career record for him for halftime.
Boy, what a career he is having and is going to have. Now, as we check, he is not in the backfield now, is he? Here is Carpenter. Rod Carpenter out across the 25 to the 27. And so the question is, will he in fact play in the second half of play? Frank LeMaster making the stop for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles must win today and then hope that Dallas and Washington end up in a deadlock. And right now that game is 17-14 in favor of Washington as they've started their second half of play. The state of Texas has some football going on today, don't they?
All important, too.
Yes, they do. Gain of 3, 2nd and 7. That's Jeff Groth in motion. This is Carpenter with a football to the 30 to about the 31-yard line, where it's going to bring up a 3rd down and still some 4 yards to go. Well, they earned their keep in the trenches, don't they?
Well, they do, and they do a good job here. Watch him coming off. Good block up front. Karl Mock making good block. George Vreener, he's coming back after an injury, the left guard for them. Did a good job with some kind of just wrestling everybody down. There we look at the man. Toughest thing about his whole career is going to be keeping up with a number of records he breaks.
Going to have to put extra pages in the brochure, aren't they, to list them all. It's Carpenter again. Carpenter, and he has a 1st down across the 35 to the 36. John Shira making the stop. I'll tell you this, Rob Carpenter's a fine football player. He missed the final 8 games last year because of knee, but he was their 3rd rusher, even at that. And at 77, he gained over 600 yards.
I tell you, just looking at the team that they have on the field now, Carpenter, they have some, they've made some changes in that lineup there.
New Orleans, as I said, if they win that, they would end up at 8-8, first non-losing season in the history of their franchise. Boy, they lost a tough game Monday night. It took them out of that title contention. Here comes Carpenter again. Charlie Johnson wrestles him down, but he picks up big yardage. Carpenter in his 3rd year out of Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, again, we take you down close here. You take a look at, you see the job they're doing up front. Getting a little running room, breaking through. Charlie Johnson making the tackle, but a little bit downfield.
Interesting story here. The bench on the sideline was checking to see if Earl Campbell's 19th touchdown run, where that stood. Well, it tied Jim Taylor. There's some talk that they might send Campbell in and let him score another touchdown and set an NFL record. He has 19 now, tying Taylor. Carpenter, and he doesn't get the 1st down. Pretty good opposition thrown up that time by Reggie Wilkes and Carl Hairston.
The Philadelphia Eagles don't care how many records he sets, but they're interested in winning this football game.
And there's the guy that's been the architect of this revival. I'm telling you, he's one of the hardest working human beings you'll ever see. Is he doing doodling there?
He's drawing some plays now.
Talked to him before the game. These cowboy boots, says the most comfortable boots or shoes he's ever had in his life. He said out in California they didn't wear cowboy boots. 3rd down and 2. Carpenter in motion. And Booby Clark, no. Ronnie Coleman carrying the football. That's the first we've seen of Coleman, a 6th-year man from Alabama A&M. He really bounced back on this one.
You remember early in the 1st half you were talking about running wide. This is why, because there's a lot of pressure up that middle. Reggie Wilkes come through. Johnson comes through. No place to run. Coleman's still trying to fight and find some running room. And then Randy Logan comes up, and he comes up short of the 1st down.
Randy Logan, a big, strong guy. The strong safety. It's a kicking situation. Parsley to boot it. Back deep, Wally Henry for Philadelphia. 10:44 to go. 3rd quarter. 12-10, Philadelphia. Very fine kick. Very high. Henry's going to return it. And he's down at the 24-yard line. Parsley really got that ball up high. And that's been a difficult thing for the Oilers this year. They have not covered on the punts all that well, giving up 11 yards a return, but that time they were there. In particular, Steve Baumgartner. 12-10, the Eagles on top.
You know, words are confusing. In bowling, a strike is good. In baseball, it's terrible.
That's right.
Take the word natural as in natural light beer. It means just one thing. This brew is beer with nothing artificial. It has only natural ingredients with lots of barley malt for a fuller taste and a less filling beer.
You better believe it.
Taste natural light. The difference is what we put in and don't put in.
Sure, natural light tastes great, and you can open the top without disremembering the can.
Jean Marie McTeague, age 6 hours, and
And along with Gene, you get weeks of sleepless nights, months of dirty diapers, and a lifetime of responsibilities. Nationwide can help you handle those responsibilities with life insurance for you and every member of your family, even the new ones. And knowing you're prepared for Gene is what our blanket protection is all about.
Nationwide is on your side.
Next Saturday, the CBS Sports Spectacular features super skates with former Olympians and world champions performing, plus action in the pool. You'll say you saw it on CBS Sports.
48-yard kick by Parsley, a 6-yard return, and at the 24-yard line, the Eagles with a 2-point lead. And their first offensive effort of the second half. Presley split out to the bottom of the screen. I tell you, Carmichael's in there. They have their entire starting 11 in right now. Here comes Montgomery, and Montgomery maybe gets a yard, and that's all. Greg Bingham. Darrell Hunt, by the way, number 50, is in at the linebacking spot for Houston, replacing Art Stringer. But both these teams, even though Campbell's out, they're going with their front liners right now.
Yeah, the only change the Eagles have made is Scott Fitzke's in at the flanker position in place of Charlie Smith. I don't know that if he got banged up or anything in the first half.
Fitzke had a catch last week, giving him 6, and he is at the bottom of the screen. Carmichael at the top. Second down, 9 yards to go. Montgomery, look at him cut, would you? He was in trouble and averted disaster. Gets out close to the 30-yard line. Darrell Hunt, their 6th-round draft pick, rookie out of Oklahoma.
And he was coming on a blitz, and as you said, he was in trouble early, and he got out of it. Billy Campfield coming in for Harris now in the passing situation, and a lot of changes, and this is a big change for Houston when they come with their 4th-down lineman, taking out Curly Culp, Ted Washington, coming with Kenny Kennard. They bring in a whole outfit to come in and rush the passer.
Thus far, the Eagles have protected Jaworski very well. Against the second leading sack team in the NFL. On the 3rd down to Campfield, that'll be good for the 1st down, and Billy Campfield is all the way out to the 44-yard line. Carter Hartwig made the stop.
Boy, good smart call this time. Real smart call. Campfield is coming out of the backfield. How quickly he sets up, throws the ball to him, picks up an easy 1st down.
And again, I will tell you how effective this man has been in those spot situations. Campfield earlier this year scored a... Sonny, I've had a lot of fun in the 79 season, and a couple of reasons. The guys that have really been helping us out throughout this year, our producer, Bob Rowe.
Boy, he's done an outstanding job, along with our director, Mr. Silman.
Both those guys, it's been a real joy working with them. Rupert Kopenix from the New Orleans area working with us today. And gentlemen, today has been an interesting game, and you've helped make it that way. You can see, Sonny, there's a lot of people involved in bringing the NFL to you.
Boy, I tell you, the people that do the work behind the scenes, they're the people that make it good.
Well, we have an important play. 3rd down and 2 at the 43 of Houston. 2 minutes left in the game. Eagles don't get it here. Well, would they kick it or go on a 4th down? John Walton has Scott Fitzke in motion. Fitzke's still waiting. Now he gives to Jamona. Jamona has a 1st down, but there's a flag on the play. Louis Jamona really sticking it in there that time to the 40-yard line, but what's the penalty all about?
Boy, if we're going to get a holding call, what a time for a mistake. One time you don't want a penalty.
Oh. Offside against them.
And holding. Oh.
Well, you know they'll take the holding penalty. 10 yards. Huh. Well, it could have been a big play for Philadelphia. Now they got to come back and do it again. There's a final. New Orleans, their first non-losing season. They finished 8-8. The Rams, they'd won 4 in a row.
Boy, that game that they played against San Diego really hurt them, didn't it?
The offense is offsides. That penalty is declined. Number 62 of the offense was holding. That's enforced. Still 1st down.
Look for timeout.
They're down.
Look for timeout.
There's a final. Seattle, well, Oakland's last-ditch efforts to make the playoffs come to a grinding halt.
Yep. 29-24.
At at the 46.5-yard line now. It's 3rd down, 12. And I don't know what you do in this situation.
That 29-24 was the score I was giving you.
Boy, you're awful. You know that. McRae, Fitzke, the wide receivers. You've been around Bob Rowe too much. And now a timeout called by Philadelphia. A little strategy being mapped here on both sides of the field. Walton comes over. 1:54 left. The Oilers have 1 timeout remaining.
They're trying to make a decision here, I think, Gary, about should we put it up? We risk the possibility of an interception. If you throw an incompletion, you stop the clock for them, and then you're going to get another stop clock on the change of possession. Or they may be talking about why not run the football here, throw a little screen pass, eat up some time on the clock, and keep the clock running. They would actually like for the Houston to have to use the other timeout.
And again, we'll remind you, 60 minutes. You know, 4 years ago, a giant American chemical company was told by one of its own engineers that it was slowly contaminating water wells adjoining the plant. Did the company do anything about it? Well, you'll find out as you watch 60 Minutes tonight.
Oh, come on, tell me.
I'll never tell. Never tell. There's the timeouts remaining.
Just 1 timeout. They would like for the Oilers to have to use that timeout if they can get them. The Peach Bowl, Clemson versus Baylor, huh?
And we'll also have our producer Bob Rowe and Jim Silman as we invade Atlanta. We'll go down there. And
they're going, huh?
Yes, they are. We go together as a team. 3rd down, 12 yards to go. They've decided what they're going to do, and let's see what it is. Walton's going to throw it, but he's going to play it very safe. As he didn't see anything developing on that, he tossed it away. Jamona was the closest man to the football, but as you said, that stopped the clock.
Well, it did stop the clock. Robert Brazil had played that perfectly. He had to throw the ball away because that could have been intercepted if he'd have tried to complete it. Just got word on that Dallas game, and Dallas has the ball on its own 45-yard line with 1:18 to play. You see Walton going back right here and making sure that he throws the ball out of bounds, because you see 52, Robert Brazil was right on the play.
Runiger to kick. The Oilers will have their offense ready to go, and with 1:49, they'll have some time. Ellender at the 12. He's got to get to the 15, and that's all. Good coverage that time by Philadelphia, and in particular Jerry Robinson. He really gets down there in a hurry. 41-yard kick by Runiger. There's the time. You see it. Upper right-hand portion of your screen. A 15-yard line and 1:37 to get down to the other end.
And the one timeout hurt him. Remember the timeout that Gifford Nielsen had to take when he was standing at the line of scrimmage because he had a bad formation. And you see right up in the upper right-hand corner. I think they're gonna remember that one.
Philadelphia, whose goal this year was to win 10 games, trying to go one over that. Nielsen trying to deliver the football on the far side for Jeff Groth. Brings up 2nd and 10. Very well covered that time by the Eagles. You know, it's interesting. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, Vermeil said, we'll have to win 10 games to get into the playoff. He was exactly right. At that time, everybody thought 9 would. And he said after they won their 10th game, that was their goal. Last year, they won 9. Now they have a chance to win 11. Nielsen back again on 2nd and 10. Wide open is Groth. I don't know what happened. He didn't locate the football. Interesting how wide open Groth was on that play.
He ran a corner pattern, but the ball was delivered before he went back on his break. And when you do that, when you make that type of throw, you're trying to guess at what angle the man is going to come out of his break. And you see he's back. He wants to throw the ball a long way because they need a big play right now. He gets it away, has a lot on the football. Could have laid it up just a little bit. He may have, both may have been able to make a play on it.
Henry Monroe now checks into the cornerback for Philadelphia. John Sanders coming off. On a third down, catch by Castor, and he has a first down. Castor with a lunging catch for the first down. Henry Monroe ran him out of bounds, and the Oilers are still alive with 1:20 left in this game.
Not only a first down and an excellent catch and throw, but he gets the first down and stops the clock. You take a look. Philadelphia playing very loose this time. Protecting against the bomb. Castor comes across underneath the linebackers. You see how deep the linebackers are, about 20 yards deep. Castor gets the first down. As you said, is still alive. They got 1:20 left.
12-yard pickup on the play. Nielsen delivering again. Merkins. Blackmore defending on that play. They had Sanders in there that time. Blackmore, Herman Edwards. Anybody that can play defensive back, they're going to have him in now.
Again, they're trying to go to that type of pattern. It's a long pattern, but you're throwing it outside. They're throwing it before the break. If he catches it, he stops the clock. He's out of bounds. But they're having trouble connecting on it.
There's the time left. Well, it hasn't been easy for Philadelphia or Houston this year. They've had a lot of close games. Oilers winning 2 of them in overtime as you look at Phillips along with Pastorini. And it's come down to the last game of the year, and they're fighting and scratching. Nielsen to Merkins. He almost had it. That would have been a great catch. Randy Logan defending. Just couldn't quite get up high enough.
I tell you, he had Rich Castor wide open that time. He has Castor wide open. You see him going back. Those are post pattern this time. A little change up from the pattern they threw before. He does take something off of this ball. He lays it up. If it goes over, it's almost intercepted. You see standing right behind it, Edwards standing there waiting for the interception.
Third down, 10. 1:09 left in the game. Nielsen to Merkins again, intercepted this time. Picked off by Chesley. His second interception of the year. And I like this guy out of Pittsburgh. The rookie who had an interception earlier in Veterans Stadium comes up with one here, and with 59 seconds left, the Eagles have survived. The Oilers attempt to come from behind.
I'll tell you what, that game, and you take a look at this interception, and then I'll tell you what's happening across state. The linebackers deep. Anytime you're throwing against linebackers this deep and you see him jump, tips the ball with one hand, comes down, and makes the interception. Great play by Chesley. Dallas has the ball on the Washington's 8-yard line with 45 seconds to play. How close are you winning the division or being eliminated from the playoffs?
That's right.
Your whole season goes down to 45 seconds.
That's right. Philadelphia, of course, winning here. But they had to have a tie in that game in order to win the division. Larry Barnes. Houston has one timeout left. Are they going to use it? Clock still winding down, and now they will use the timeout. Houston has no timeouts remaining. Well, I have to say this about Philadelphia. I have been so impressed with them this year, but I'm also impressed with that team that's wearing the Columbia blue and red. A lot of character on both of these teams.
RCA wants you to see the right color. Sunrise over the Grand Canyon. Does your television capture the color in all its intensity, in all its subtlety? Does it automatically show you the right shades of color? If not, wait till you see ColorTrack 1980. ColorTrack 1980. With 8 automatic color systems designed to lock even subtle shades of color on track. RCA is making television better and better.
Sharp razor blades are designed to give you a closer shave. Great for my beard, but can still be irritating to my skin. So I help protect my skin with Rise. Rise is thicker than the leading foam. Look, I can't even shake it off. Rise helps protect my skin against irritation. So for today's close shaves, get today's thick Rise.
60 minutes following football as the Houston Oilers have just used their last timeout, and we had an offside against Houston. Let's go now to Brent Musburger in New York.
Gary, thank you very much. Back here in New York, we have had a dramatic turnaround. With less than a minute to go, Roger Staubach has driven the Dallas Cowboys back, and they are tied with the Washington Redskins, waiting now to set up the extra point. This is the pass that established it for the Cowboys. He hit Preston Pearson, then he ran Tony Hill into the corner with 42 seconds, lobbed it up over the head, and the kick is good now down in Dallas. So as a result of these 7 points, the Cowboys lead the Redskins 35-34. What a game. Back now to Gary Bender in Houston.
Thank you, Brent. And so if that stays as it is, Washington will not be in the playoffs. That incredible, Sonny?
Incredible that it comes down to the last 45 seconds. I see the Philadelphia bench right now. They're looking at the clock. They see the tie score. They have the wrong score on the scoreboard. They think they're going into overtime in Dallas, and they would have a chance to win the division.
Somebody ought to alert them down there. That's got to be agony for those players on the sideline, and the coaches, look at them. They're looking around. Now they put it out. Dallas. Now that's interesting the way they reacted to that, isn't it?
It really is.
Why would they feel that one way or another?
Maybe that's who they want to play in the playoffs.
Well, they will play Chicago. I guess that's what, really you understand that now. That is it. And that is it. So the final score, 26-20, Philadelphia picking up their 11th win. They'll be in the wild card against Chicago if that Dallas and Washington game stays the same. This is Gary Bender for Sonny Jurgensen saying so long from the Houston Astrodome. Let's go now to Irving, Texas for the conclusion of that Dallas-Washington game.
High, deep kick chases Hammond back to the goal line. And Bobby Hammond streaks to the outside, is down at the 25 where the Redskins will take over. They have 2 timeouts left. It looked as if the game was in the bag for Washington. If you look at that frantic bench at the moment, Theismann will of course be the quarterback.
What a job. What a job the Skins have done with this team.
Mark Mosley loosening up behind the bench knows what might be facing